This is Building a Creative Life. I'm Pam Vale, a New England artist, bringing the world of creativity to your door through casual conversations with artists, creators, and everyday people, helping curious, midlife women begin their next creative chapter. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Today's guest is someone I've come to adore having regular deep conversations with, Nicola Farnhill. Nicola is a writer and therapist who helps people reconnect with their authentic selves after trauma. Her work explores the intersections of creativity, emotional healing, and spiritual truth. In this episode, we talk about the ways trauma can silence self-expression, how creativity opens the path back to authenticity, and what happens in our bodies when we begin to reconnect. Stay tuned to the end where I share my own reflections and a few ways you can begin to bring more creativity and emotional connection into your own life. Well, welcome, Nicola. I'm so happy that you're here, and I am really grateful that you suggested this topic because I feel like what we're going to talk about is very universal. I feel like you don't have to be an artist to appreciate this, and talking about creative blocks and what they are and who they affect and how they show up and what to do about them is our topic today. And I'm excited to hear your views. And for people that don't know you and haven't watched our previous, you're like my regular guest. I love it. So for people who haven't watched our previous talks, definitely I will link those. But I'd love it if you could tell a little bit about you and what you do and
Sure.
a little background.
Okay. So it is lovely to be here, and as I said, we nearly do like a monthly now, don't we? It's so great, and I love that so much. And like we were just saying about being able to share the depth with people, and you and I can do that. It's just amazing. So it works on all levels for hopefully for everyone that's going to listen, but also for you and I as well to explore that creativity. And I think just to make a note of that, anyone that's listening that is creative, then just don't forget how important it is to connect with other creatives, because it's really useful. So I am a creative. I write predominantly. I do a little bit of art, but not too much. And I work as a therapist and a coach, I guess, with the mind, body and soul. And so in the past I've worked predominantly with psychology on psychology-based issues around trauma, but in the most present moments I'm now integrating a lot more the body and obviously the soul, so a lot more spiritual work. So I really help people that have struggled with disconnection through trauma. That can be disconnection, I believe, from their true selves, who they were born as. So that's what I do. I work with people online, I work with people in person, in groups, wherever the opportunity presents. And obviously I'm always on my own journey because it unfolds as it unfolds and it never ends for any of us. But I feel like I've come quite a long way, and creativity most definitely has been a part of that journey for me. As I say, most predominantly writing. I think a lot of people, they know about journaling and how it's wonderful that you can just start off with one topic or a suggestion, and then it evolves and you learn so much about yourself. So that's something that I do promote within my work as well, any form of creativity, self-expression. And for people that have suffered some degrees of trauma, they probably do understand that quite often depression can come from that. And as we know, depression is a form of oppression of the expression. That's quite a mouthful.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So, and I think even if you're not someone that kind of defines with a particular type of art, whether that's writing, whether that's drawing, there's always some way of expression, and that to me is what creativity is. It's a form of expression. I think if you've been challenged in the past and had some trauma and you've been oppressed, then 9 times out of 10, from my experience, one of the most helpful ways to release that is through expression, and that it could just come in the form of creativity. And it can be something that you don't even know about, something that just happens, something that you're introduced to, something that somebody suggests. It can come as a surprise, and it can also be something, like we've said before, that comes from what you were doing maybe before some trauma happened, or before you were oppressed, or felt like you weren't good at it maybe, or it wasn't for you, or but to me, we all need to express in some way, and maybe it's through the voice, or just speaking our truth. I think is something that's so valuable. It doesn't have to be for everyone. Sometimes it can just be for ourselves.
Right. And I think that people sometimes get caught up thinking that creative blocks or creative expression is mostly for artists. But it could be, what you're making for dinner, or we have holidays coming up and how you're going to celebrate the holidays, or, the path that you're going to take when you take your walk or whatever. So it can show up differently for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's not someone that's going to be famous for someone, or even for something, or share something. It's so personal to you. So personal to you. Some people just doodle. It's a little doodling pad by the side of the phone, and they're just doing their own little doodles there, and it's a form of therapy, it's a form of expression, it's a form of calming the soul and the nervous system. It's, to me, sometimes just freeing yourself up.
Mm-hmm. I would love if you could talk a little about how those blocks, or how that shutdown can show up in your body.
I think for me, going back to what I said before, it's about the disconnection. It's about not realising that we, for whatever reason, can become disconnected from our authenticity, from who we are. And that, again, the buzzword I always use is trauma, but sometimes it can just be that we've not had the opportunity to be creative and express ourselves. And I think a lot of the time we are so conditioned to fit into certain boxes, to follow certain paths, that we just don't get the time to sit down and think about how connected we are, not just mentally but emotionally and spiritually, our spiritual truth, to who we are. It's we're so caught up in everything else, we don't ever take a moment, but it manifests in our, the way that we go about our daily life, how much joy we have in our lives. And I think, a key thing around that disconnection is simple things like, how much joy do we experience from things? Do we ever ask ourselves those questions? How much joy am I experiencing in my life?
Because I think sometimes it's that whole thing where you don't know how bad you feel until you feel good, right? Like you might not realize that something's wrong.
It becomes the norm, doesn't it? What's every day is normal to you. And that, again, is a form of disconnection if you're not experiencing joy. I've often heard people that I've worked with in therapy and coaching that have said once they release some of the weight of the past, then everything seems brighter. Everything seems more lighter. And that's basically because they're not carrying the heaviness in their body, the heaviness of the negative energy. Right. So for me, one of the biggest blocks is disconnection. And sometimes we can live literally, depending on what's happened in our lives, our whole life disconnected. And again, because social structures are so strong, like we were saying earlier about being, someone that likes depth of conversation. Quite often we don't have this awareness that we are maybe a deep child that needed to explore and go into depth in things. So without that information, we would, and I certainly did, try to fit in. Right. Because you're not maybe made to feel wrong, you just feel wrong because the majority is functioning on a different level completely. Right. And so from then, trying to fit in causes more disconnection.
Right. And I think the connection to sort of like that negative self-talk or confidence or judgment of yourself, or maybe not having the skills or the tools,
Yeah.
just kind of feeds into it.
The awareness. If
Right.
you've no one in your family that is the same as you, for example, that has a little bit more depth, that wants to explore, then you are, and I certainly had that experience, made to feel that, you know, you were different, and not in a good way, that it wasn't a quality, that it was actually, you know, something that wasn't healthy, that, you know, just accept things as they are, and there's no room for a self-exploration within that. And so, like you say, what happens then is the negative talk comes into place. There is something wrong with me, because it's misunderstanding. It's not intentional, but that again then manifests into another block, doesn't it? Well, I won't do what I naturally feel like doing because no one else is doing it. And when I do it, it's can be, depending on the people, can be criticised, can be seen as a waste of time. For example, if you're someone that likes to, I've experienced this myself, likes to have long, in-depth conversations, someone that's a doer can see that as a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that then, from that, you just learn one thing, and that is, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's really sad.
It is sad because you just didn't find the right person to have that in-depth conversation with.
Yeah, and with that without that self-awareness, you would just keep trying with different people.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in the small percentage that are wanting that depth, then it's no wonder that we've so many people that have such negative self-talk and low self-esteem, because we're not encouraged to celebrate our differences. We're not encouraged to our uniqueness. And yet we know that when we look at the most creative people that we've known, the famous people, for example, you know, the achievement that's possible by exploration, when you go deep into your soul and express, is world celebrated.
Definitely.
It's
Definitely.
crazy, isn't it?
It is. It is. And when you think about, you know, other things that can hold you back, like perfectionism, that can stem from, you know, other underlying causes, or like past tapes or judgments or
Yeah.
interactions with people. Those are the things that stop creative exploration, I feel
Yeah.
like, you know, and it just sort of ends the conversation. People think that they're not creative. People think that what they are going to do is not good enough, or maybe even, you know, we were talking earlier about social media, even feeling like what that you have to show what you do, you know, or
Yeah.
that it has to like live up to what you're seeing on social media, you know,
Yeah.
all those things I find just number one can kill any kind of creative flame. Like it
Absolutely.
just
If you've not got
extinguishes it.
quite
Yeah.
high self-esteem,
Yeah.
then you know, then, and obviously it's well known that artists, particularly creatives, particularly, can struggle with their craft if they want to make it, you know, like something that's part of a living. They're earning from it. You know, it's hard. It's really hard. And then you go, and, as you say, on social media, and you see that comparison. When the truth is that if you are a creative, then your expression is completely unique, and so there will always be a market. It's like, you know, if you're a writer, there will be a market for your expression. So we should never try and market for the masses, but yet, like you say, on social media, you know, there's so much contrast and so many opinions that it can be crushing if you haven't got the self-esteem to support. And
Right.
most creatives haven't, because of the
No.
oppression.
No, because I think they're already at that stage where they feel they're not creative. They're already like, you know, starting down here where they feel like they don't have a creative voice, or they don't have a right to, or they've been squashed at some point by something or
Yeah,
someone, as you talk about, where
that's right.
something happened.
Yeah, and a lot of creatives tend to be sensitive on top of that as well.
Just a little bit.
So we're just kind of like, you know, like struggling away there, trying to get that out there, and then that sensitivity, that rejection that maybe someone else, or that perceived failure that someone else would just bat off. We're kind of like, oh, am I really made to do this? And
Right.
It's really crazy just thinking about it when we talk, because I think it's so important to talk about the fact that everybody's voice and expression is completely unique and it's there for a reason. And just to support that is to think about everything that has been created that's so important in the world. Everything that we see around us has been created. And if all those people hadn't have pushed through with their creativity in that one area, imagine what we would be without.
Right. And it's not just like stuff around me. I mean, it's like medicine, it's,
Everything.
architecture. It's everything. Yeah, it's our entire lives.
Everything.
Hmm.
So even we can go to the length of everyone is creative.
I I deeply believe that.
Everyone, and we've all got that special thing. It
Hmm.
might be that you have to hone your craft and able to find that one thing. It's really bizarre because when I write, I went through a period of writing on a platform where I tried to follow a format, because it's recommended. It happens a lot on these platforms. You follow this format, and this is what works. And it just felt so uncomfortable and so stunted and so methodical and no flow, which we love the flow. And I just thought, I just don't even care who reads this, but I want to do it for me, the way that my soul wants to express it. And what's interesting for me is a lot of the time when I write in, you would say, almost old speak.
I find your writing very conversational. And now that I know you a little bit, I hear your voice when I read your writing. So I hear your like, what's the word, like the cadence of your voice, or I hear your accent. It's funny.
That's what I
It feels
mean.
very authentic.
It is completely, and I think sometimes I don't know where it comes from, but that isn't that the pleasure,
Mm.
and the surprises that come sometimes when you sit down. I'm not in the mood, and then this wonderful piece comes out, or something that's so soul and heartwarming, and
Hmm.
so creates such a sense of peace in you. Sometimes it doesn't matter if it doesn't go anywhere because it's just being you, and it coming through you, and it's just the best. It's just the
It
best.
is.
I don't know about you, but I don't think that I could ever be without my creativity,
Mm.
without
It's
the
for me.
joy that
It's
comes.
every day, every minute of every day. It's
Yeah.
it really is. And I guess that kind of leads into sort of what do we do about creative blocks? And um, for me personally, I don't often have creative blocks, like big blocks.
Yeah.
And I have things that I do that I can go to sort of like jumpstart me, or I
Yes.
have methods that I use. But I know that for you, I know you do a lot with writing. I would love if you could talk a little bit about that. And then there's a few other things that I want to ask you about regarding like how do we come out of it? How do we, now that we've recognized that there might be something there, like what do we do
Yeah.
about it?
I think for me, one of the keys for me with writing is, um, if I haven't fed my soul enough.
Hmm, interesting.
So yeah, so if I've had sometimes it can come from work. I'm very inspired by my clients, so I will often write afterwards because things have come, and I've thought, wow, I didn't even know where that had come from. I need to express that. I need to share that. But some of the time when I've been doing other things that maybe don't feed my soul as much, and I can give you an example of my soul things. So they would be being in nature, as we know. Um, they would be around reading and visiting new places, inspiration. But if I've not fed my soul much, we don't always get that balance, then I can sit down to write and there's a kind of, I wouldn't say heaviness, but a flatness. And I guess that just ties in with also around what we talk about with like self-love, for example, filling yourself up. So creativity for me needs to be, we need to be full. If we're empty, if we're drained because we've been in environments that don't feed our soul, or even with people that don't feed our soul the same, I think then I would struggle with creativity around that at times as well. I know we said earlier around, what would we do about that? Then for me, again, it's about the balance. It's about which we can't always have the time or the thought process to stop yourself in the middle of the week and go, okay, how much have I fed my soul this week? How much have I? Because life demands. And I think for me, this ties into, are we living the right kind of life in general?
Which is a big question, It's like
Yeah,
a lot of times
huge.
we feel like we don't have choices, and we have more choice than we sometimes
We
give
do.
credit.
We do. It's that programming, isn't it? It's been, fitting into those boxes and achieving those things. And again, I guess that's leading on one of the biggest blockages is is conforming to societal expectations as well. What's doable, even if we've been told not just by society but by people that we're close to, that's not right for you, that's not the right thing, you'll never do anything with that. Ooh, crikey. It's like, well, I'm sorry, but I don't really know if I want to do anything with it, but I know I want to do it. It's there's so many invisible rules and regulations that are running through our lives that steer us away from who we really are. And
Definitely.
I think the one thing that we have to do for ourselves always when we recognise that is to reconnect with ourselves and make that time, because it's always rewarded. For me, always rewarded to feed your soul, to find that balance. I understand it's scary. I understand it's scary to move away from, for example, working a 9 to 5, because there's a strict guideline that's been filtered down through the years. That's what we have to do in order to survive, in order to achieve, in order to, but it's really not. And if it's at the expense of your expression, your creativity and your soul expression, then to me personally, your soul expression and your creativity has to come first, because that's where your joy lies.
Definitely.
Some people don't have they're not as fortunate to be able to do a job where they can express their creativity. It is challenging, I understand that. But for me, if you can't do it to create a living initially, then you should at least try to do it at the side, because I think
Definitely.
even if
'Cause
it's an hour
right.
a day.
Incorporating something, finding a hobby, finding some way to infuse creativity, and then one of the things I just thought about while you were talking too is that it doesn't even have to be something separate. It could be part of your work. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have a job that's not inherently creative, if you're not an artist or a baker or a musician or something, whatever kind of job you have, there's, creative what's the word, like problem solving. There's ways to make your environment creative. There's ways to bring creativity into like writing an email. It's just something where there's like more intention and thought put into
Yeah.
it.
Yes. Yeah, and it can make it lighter and it can make it more fun. Even, even intentionally creating fun.
Yes.
Playfulness. I often think, I'm super playful and super childish. And I know that if I don't, if I'm not around people that quite often that don't appreciate that, or or with work it has to be quite serious at times. I do inject a lot of humour into my work because it helps people to understand that they're not always stuck in the emotions that they think they're stuck in, like depression or whatever. But for me, playfulness, being silly, just lightening your own life and lightening your own soul, that you have to find search for creative ways to do that. And it may be just as simple as going back to what you used to do when you were a child. Because
Which is
children don't have a problem with it, do
no,
they?
and it comes natural, and they're not judged for it,
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I am very playful and silly and creative and like unexpected in my art, in whatever I'm doing, in my work, in my home projects, in party planning, and all of that. But as a person, like that's not something that comes natural to me, and the last few times that we've spoken, you've talked about play each time, and it's interesting because I think for me, the creative outlets I had from childhood, whether it was like painting or making, I was always making something. Like, I think being a little more introverted and also just being like kind of a calm person
Yeah.
naturally, that was my play. But it wasn't like something I always thought, oh, I'm not like fun and playful, or I'm not like, you know, that
Yeah.
that personality, but that's where it came out. And that's why that was important for me, I think. So it
Yes.
kind of ties it together. So it doesn't have to be
Absolutely.
like one or the other. It can be that can be your outlet.
Absolutely. And to explore it, to
Hmm.
see, like when we talk about creativity, one of the things about creativity is getting out of your comfort zone. So, sometimes, maybe to ask yourself, like, would I have the courage to do something that was playful and out of the ordinary? Maybe you have a fear of being perceived a certain way, or so you can be creative within your playfulness.
Yeah.
And that also, I think, is very healthy because it maybe expands your comfort zone, and that's where the aha moments come from. And like I was saying earlier around personality types and putting yourself in a box. So like I've boxed myself because it made me feel that I belonged to something that I was from many years of not belonging. So I would be an intuitive introvert and these certain categories, and yet I've found if I want to expand, then I need to look at those and see those in some ways as limits.
Definitely.
So it's about getting out of that comfort zone. It's about exploring things and being creative with things that maybe you're not comfortable with. Maybe you'll be surprised with that.
Well,
I think just thinking about it makes me think about how fearful people would be around that. Maybe, but some people would be around that.
yeah.
But yet, if we think about the short time that we're here that we know of, then why not?
Hmm.
Why not be silly?
It's true. It is scary though. Maybe it's
But
just
then
finding the right avenue to do that, or the right environment to do that. I don't know.
you look terrified, Pam.
I am terrified. I wanted to go back to talking about nature
Yeah.
because I know that's important to you. And I know that many, many artists that I've talked to over the years, that's a common thread, that being in nature. But I think
Yes.
that might be a kind of an obscure suggestion for some people that don't have like
Okay.
tangible, like like literally what is it about nature, or what do you do, or what do you
Okay.
look for, like if you could give a little insight.
I would say that consciously I don't look for anything. I would say it's been something that I've become aware of over my 54 years, that it's the way it makes me feel. So maybe for me it's nature, maybe for someone else it's makes something else makes them feel a certain way, but nature makes me feel part of the bigger picture. It makes me feel very connected to everything. It's a heart and soul feeling. I would say that it's about contrasts of colours and seeing textures, and I guess being in awe as well. I'm always in awe. It doesn't matter what the season. It's almost like, we live in these boxes, and for me, when I go outside, I'm in awe most of the time of what surrounds me, and that doesn't necessarily have to be the forest where I often go to walk, which is extremely beautiful. It can be just driving along and seeing some bushes with some bright pink flowers, or the detail of a flower, or it's just and the feeling of connectivity to that. I am a part of that. So yes, I don't think it's something I seek. It's something that resonates. It makes me feel a certain way, and I think it's very exciting. It gives me a feeling of awe, but it also makes me feel very safe and a part of something else as well. I think sometimes for me, when I'm at home, I can feel quite isolated, but I never feel isolated in nature.
Interesting. And I think sometimes we
resonance.
Yeah, and we forget the what is it? The magic of how things grow, right? Like I think like I know for myself, I'll speak for myself. I often have taken for granted, flowers growing, right? Like they're just there and they are, that's an iris or that's a rose or whatever, but we forget like the miraculous like magic that happens for nature to be what it is, and I think for me that's part of it. It's part of like now, especially I live in southern New England, and we are on fire with color, and this year last year was very muted for whatever reason, but this year it is so spectacular. I don't know where to look first. Like I'm so overwhelmed by by the colors, and just that it's this natural cycle. Like they just know what to do, and this thing happens, and
absolutely, and that is the thing, isn't it? I think that's the awareness that comes sometimes, is that nothing in nature is forced.
Yes.
It's a natural process, and so there's that resonance and I think that's where the peace comes for me in nature. It reminds me that nothing is forced.
I love that.
In nature,
I love that.
and I am
alone.
That, so.
Yeah. What a gift. If people take nothing else from this conversation, like what a beautiful, like write it on a Post-it note and put it on your computer, like it's not forced. And I feel like, we talk about flow, and we talk about like that natural cycle, and that's it. It's beautiful.
It is, and if we need to feel, if we at times we feel like, we're struggling with life and that we're not doing enough, we're not being enough, then all we have to go and look at nature, be in nature, remind ourselves that we are nature, and that's not forcing anything to be as beautiful as what it is, and we are just the same.
Right. And it keeps moving, and it's I don't know. I'm re-listening to the first 2 chapters of The Untethered Soul, and I know we've spoken about this before. And the thing I listened to today, they were talking about like the internal dialogue and our voice in our head and our inner roommate, and he was talking about how like we can complain about the weather, but it's not going to change it, or we can complain about what the weather's going to be tomorrow or what's going to happen tomorrow. But like nature and the weather and the cycles, like they're happening like without us doing anything.
And the thing is, everything in nature flourishes. It flourishes or it doesn't, and that's okay as well. It's like we have this expectancy of things have to be a certain way for us to flourish. But nature never makes those demands. It just accepts what is and moves with what is. So like when the frost comes, it stays still. And then when spring comes, it's time to take the nourishment from where it's coming from. And we're just the same. Why do we have this feeling of we have to manage and control, when if we were just to, I think everybody should have a little tattoo that says I am nature. and then we would accept more that we are cyclical and that, we don't have to force anything. It's just let it be and be. But again, that's the social conditioning to some extent, and the needs maybe of the ego that needs to feel like it's done something in order to have some recognition and validation. But nature never asks for validation, and yet it gets everything from just being itself. It doesn't have to request anything.
Right. I often fight change. It's just like my natural thing is I'm not great with change. And, I think about what you're saying, and it's making me think about like the season that we're coming into right now, where it's a little more, it's like the darker season. It's a little more
Yeah.
like cozy and like introspective and all of that before we come into spring. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, even I expect things to stay at a certain level, whether it's my art or my work or my daily life or whatever. But there are these seasons that we can tap into and take advantage of and learn
And
from.
they're there for a reason,
Mm,
and they're there for a reason as well. So it's trusting, isn't it, in
yes.
something outside of ourselves, not having to control everything,
Mm,
and actually taking some pleasure from the fact that we can rest more, that we can, be more still, and like animals that hibernate. It's that time. Why is it that we have to have things a certain way when everything else just accepts things as it is?
it's true.
Because we have this, and you know what? I know what it is. It's because we feel like we have all the power, and we have to manage everything, and everything else in nature just trusts the process.
Mm. So simple, right?
We have a superiority complex. I can make everything happen,
Mhm.
and nature's just like, I don't think you can actually. And the longer we resist that, the harder it gets, is it
Yeah,
not?
it does. And it also like just brings unhappiness and, other bad
And the,
things.
and the
Yeah.
and we have the ego then going, but
Discontentment.
you should be doing this and you should be doing that, and it's like, well, actually, those animals and that flower's not really thinking it should be doing anything. It's just being a
It's just
flower.
there.
Just being a flower. It doesn't feel the need to be doing anything else, and it's doing really well as well, and it's flourishing and it's really beautiful. And so I think we've kind of like you need to have a little. If we're going to talk to ourselves, yes, it should be kind, but yes, it should also be realistic in the sense that all we need to do is be ourselves, to know our truth and be authentic. And you don't get flowers and trees worrying about whether they're going to grow the same size as the one next to them, or it just doesn't happen.
Right.
And so why do we? Because we've been given this intelligence that we use against ourselves,
Mhm.
because we don't live in our truth.
Mhm. And I know you
Yeah.
talk about that a lot and about finding that.
Absolutely, because I think, again, when we have to be whole, we're born whole, and we do get disconnected. And I think that's part of the journey of life, is coming back to our wholeness, to reconnect the mind, the body, the soul, to make sure the heart is open. There are reasons why we close, and there are reasons why we disconnect, but I think it's good to know why. But I think it's more important to go on the journey if there's not enough joy, if there's not enough peace, um, success, money, like that all comes after you find that connection again. So for me, the whole purpose is to be fully reconnected, to live authentically, to be that one clover that's got two leaves, or one leaf, or that tree that's had to bend and manipulate itself in a certain way in order to survive. Yeah, we do that, but it's still a tree.
Mhm.
We don't have to give ourselves an identity crisis just because we've had challenges. I think the most beautiful things are created from challenges, for sure. And I think if we adopt that and see our differences as our real qualities, then I think we don't have any problems.
Yeah. Wow. Well, is there anything else that you want to add that we didn't cover?
I don't think so. I think just to remember that you can never be like anyone else, so stop trying. You can never be anyone else, so stop trying, and just accept you are nature and you have got a path and it's unique. And if you can connect to the whole of yourself, however long that takes, then you will have the most wonderful life, lots of joy, lots of happiness, and just learn to accept yourself like everything else in nature does. We are nature.
Mm. Well, I will definitely put all of your contact information in the show notes.
Thank you so much.
And I feel refueled after our conversation. So I'm very grateful for you. Yeah, anytime, come back.
I think it's so wonderful when we're talking how things come up and we are reminded of, and it makes me feel very connected right now and very peaceful and very grateful. And that all the things that challenge me really are not that big.
No.
Considering.
Yeah.
I've got my cycle and it will continue, whatever.
Yep.
So I might as well enjoy it.
Exactly. And that's the key. And be of service.
Absolutely. And share it. Share your journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure as always, Pam. Thank you.
What I love most about my conversation with Nicola is how she brings creativity and authenticity back to something simple and human. It's not about painting or performing, it's about expression. It's about remembering who we were before the world told us who to be. She said something that really stayed with me, that depression is a form of oppression of expression. When we can't express, when we don't feel safe to be ourselves, it starts to show up everywhere. Our bodies, our energy, and even our sense of purpose. And yet the way back is often smaller and quieter than we expect. It might begin with noticing what actually feeds your soul. It might mean choosing curiosity instead of judgment, or making something just for the sake of making it. Creativity in the truest sense is spiritual. It's how we listen to what our soul is trying to tell us. It's how we make the invisible visible again. If you've been feeling disconnected or blocked, try starting with the tiniest expression of joy. Write a few words, cook something new, take a walk and really notice the color of the light. These small moments begin to reconnect you to yourself. And I think that's what Nicola and I both believe, that authenticity isn't something we find, it's something we return to. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you'd share it with someone who might need to hear that they're already creative, they're already enough, and they're already on their way home to themselves. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for free and share it with a friend. It helps others find the show and grows our community. Remember, creativity is yours to define, there are no rules, and it's never too late. Until next time.